Welcome, listeners. I'm so thankful that you're here. I have a new friend, Jen Hirst, and she's my friend. We've been sitting here chatting about chickens a little bit, which is so fun. But that's not what the podcast is about. Maybe we can do another one, Jen,
There's
about
so much
chickens.
to learn about chickens, you guys. So much I've learned.
They're awesome. Chickens are awesome. But what Jen is a sobriety coach. And you can find her. I looked at your website, it's beautiful. Lighthouse Sobriety. And we're going to talk about this. And my listeners know I've talked about alcohol probably in the past year more than I ever have. So, what we want to do is we want to hear you've got a pretty gut wrenching story that I read, so if you wouldn't mind sharing that with the listeners, and then we'll just jump in and kind of talk through some of the issues and then some of the amazing things about being sober.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me here. Uh, of course, I'm Jen Hirst. I've been alcohol free for over 12 and a half years, which is kind of crazy now that I think about it. But I now coach women on how to boost their confidence in sobriety. So crazy how your life can change based on this one thing and what you're kind of led to. And so I've been doing that by implementing, and I'll talk about that later if we want, but these 6 daily habits to help bring some structure and how women approach this with a get to mentality to feel your best in this journey. Because I think that's what we want if you choose to take a break of by going alcohol free, or if this is a forever thing. We want to feel our best. We want to feel better. And definitely going alcohol free, taking a break, definitely can help you do that. Now, my
Mhm.
story is very different probably from many other stories. But of course, look for the similarities, not the differences. And I think just what could happen. Now, I always like to say, and if you go to my page, that no one is off limits when it comes to drinking. Is that over the course of the years, I was kind of, and if we look at drinking on a spectrum, I was one of the more severe cases. My drinking brought me very, very low, but you wouldn't know that because if you go to my page, you'll see me in a wedding dress. If you go to like before and after pictures, because I share that because I didn't have a lot of pictures of myself drinking. I did a lot of my drinking in the closet. I hid it from many, many people. Even my husband didn't know what was going on. So I was really good at hiding it. But over the course of the years, it was about a 10-year progression. And I just did a reel about it on Instagram where, yes, I started drinking at 15. I realized I had a problem at 25. I started actively seeking sobriety when I was 29, and I didn't get sober until I was 31. Now I'm 43 and a lot has changed even in my sobriety, but it was really like a 10-year progression. And this is why I think it can make it so difficult and tricky is that it can kind of sneak up on you until you can't stop. And that was my case. And I would do anything that I could to not feel. But for me, even growing up, I came from a great home. My parents rarely drank. They were like high school sweethearts. They met in the band, like all of these things. And I never saw them drink. And so that's why I like to think and say it can happen to anybody. I didn't choose this for my life. It kind of chose me on what I didn't want to feel. But it was raised in a kind of perfectionist home where I earned love by what I could achieve. If I could get good grades, get awards, I would get a lot of love. And if I didn't, then they would ask me, okay, well, why did you get this B? Like, what's going on here? And so I started putting these really high expectations on myself. I wasn't your typical, if I would say it, alcoholic, even though I don't use that term today, I used it back then. I wasn't the stereotypical person who was homeless living under the street with a brown paper bag. I was someone who had it all together. I got good grades. I was very high functional until it really kept getting deeper and deeper. But like I was saying, I had my first drink at 15, did quote unquote normal drinking for many years. And even into college, but it was really a turning point. And I like to say this when my second boyfriend wanted to go on a break. And I think for many people, we can turn from drinking as fun to viewing it to self-medicate, to take us away from what we want to feel. Because a lot of us drink to change how we feel, whether that's you want to heighten an experience, you want to take something away, you want to relax. You don't want to feel, maybe you're sad, maybe you're happy, you're using it as a reward, you're doing something to change how you feel. But it was a turning point because at this moment I didn't want to have to go through the heartbreak of my first boyfriend, and that was awful. I don't think anybody loves heartbreak, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with my time. It was all I could think about. And the guys that I was living with at the time, now this was in college, they were doing Adderall. And if you don't know what Adderall is, it's kind of like an upper for used for ADHD. And so it makes you feel amazing. And I loved that because I could get a lot done. However, I had never taken it before because I didn't do drugs. Little did I know alcohol is a drug. I didn't even know that until 2018, 2019, 4 years, 5 years into my sobriety. I had no idea that alcohol was a drug. And they came to me when I was on this break and I didn't know what to do. And they say, hey, just take this. You're going to feel amazing. You're not even going to think about him. At that point, I was at a crossroads. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it. And I took it. I felt amazing. I stayed up all night because that's what uppers do. And then I dyed my hair. I said, this is the best thing that ever happened. And then the crash came where my anxiety peaked. I didn't know what to do. All my problems were still there. The heartbreak was still there. And so then it got this seed planted in my brain of, okay, well, I'm not going to do Adderall, but I could do the same thing with alcohol because alcohol changes how I feel. I don't have to feel. So over time, I started to self medicate that anytime that life got hard, I would drink. I
So
would
did
drink
you
it.
actually, I'm sorry, I have to jump in. Did you
Yeah.
actually have that thought? Because did you actually have that thought that I'm going to do this so I can feel better instead of taking this?
Yeah.
That is so crazy because for me, and like I said, my story is very different. It like snuck up on me.
Mm,
I didn't realize after a stressful day that I wanted a glass of wine. And I was different than you where I only drank with my husband, but it was like every night a glass of wine.
yeah.
And it was because I was stressed out. And back in the day, Jen, they talked about it's good for you, to relax. So I was
It's
like,
going to
oh,
help your heart.
yeah,
It's heart healthy.
yeah. And do you know it causes breast cancer, which I went through? And that was when, but the thing about that for me in my journey, and I want to get back to your story, but I just had to jump in because I think that's so interesting that you actually thought that through. Because for me, it was a sneaky thing where all of a sudden I went, I don't think I can stop. And even before the breast cancer, I knew, like, I'm like, this kind of has a hold on me. And like, would be on vacation, be like, and I'd wake up in the morning and I think, I don't want to have a drink today because I never felt great, even after just one glass of wine. And then the night would come and my husband would be having a beer and I'd be like, well, I'll just have one glass of wine. And it snuck up on me like that. And so, that's why I had to jump in because your story is so different that you actually thought through it, but it's kind of the same. We're using it in the same way.
Yeah, whether it's stress, whether it's habit, like
Mhm,
after this, I do this, whether it's we're seeking connection.
mhm.
Because what do we see? A lot of what we experience and what we're using alcohol for is what we experienced and saw in childhood as we grow up. We see that in movies of, oh my gosh, they're
Yes.
connecting on date night.
Yes.
Disney movies. I'm like blowing my mind watching these with my kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're having champagne. So it's
Mhm,
fancy. This is what you do on date night. And a lot of times when we start drinking, I mean, not for everyone, for a lot of us, it's like 15 to 18. What's happening in that time is you're starting to learn how to socialize. You're starting to develop your social circles, figure out who you are. Like so much is changing. You're maybe starting to date, and alcohol enters the picture. And so when we take that away, it's like, I don't even know how to go on a date. Like, I don't know how to socialize. And we get nervous about all of these things because it's so ingrained. Social hour, you go to a work party, happy hour, like all of these things. It's so ingrained in our society that when we take that away, we don't know how to act because it was like our coping mechanism for so
mhm,
many years. And that's how it can kind of just sneak up on you where you don't know how to stop, or else you feel so uncomfortable that you're going to seek that out to quiet or to calm any discomfort that you're feeling from doing so.
Right. And like you, perfectionist, same kind of upbringing, and just was always working so hard to be perfect.
Mhm.
And so then you just needed something to kind of take the edge
Good
off,
job.
calm you
Yes.
down. But Jen, this is what's so interesting. I don't know. Quite honestly, I'm very thankful for the breast cancer because I don't know if I would have stopped without that total change of life, total, like, I just surrendered. I went, "Holy cats, I don't have control over anything." It was just really a bizarre, amazing experience. But as I'm saying that because I'm thinking of the woman out there who's like me, and I didn't really even get drunk. I didn't black out. I know we have different stories, but how would I have gotten there without the breast cancer? I don't want you to have to go through that,
Mhm.
or something horrible to get to this point where now, I mean, let's talk about it. I can get up at 7:30 on a Saturday morning and go work out super hard in the class. So freeing. I don't ever feel crappy in the morning from that.
Yes.
So
Yes, right?
amazing.
Like the things we get to do, and sometimes it gives us a wake-up call, right? Sometimes we have to have something like our health come up
Mhm.
for it to be like, "What am I doing? What and why am I using it?" And all of these things, and then switching it to all of the things I get to do, and I'm so happy you were able to get through it, right? And where we can see the good in something that's been super hard and that we've had to go through is that it got me to this place. And thank goodness it
Mhm.
did, because
Mhm.
otherwise I wouldn't have known, or you wouldn't have known a different way. Like, where would my life be? Where would your life be if you didn't have that diagnosis?
I
Right.
know. Yeah. I
Um,
know, it's funny because when I think about it and it was very early detection, stage 1, but I think I'm gonna live longer because of that, because I've changed my life, and it's affected my husband, and it's amazing, but I am so excited to get into you said you have 7 daily habits because I'm thinking of that woman who's where I was.
mhm,
Right? Who's not really like, they don't feel like they're an alcoholic, or maybe they do, I don't know. I
mhm,
do have one question for you, though. I heard you say that you don't use that word anymore.
mhm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. And I love to have women, so I only coach women, but women define what to call themselves and what to label themselves.
Okay.
Now, 13 to 15 years ago, when I was seeking this out and I didn't know what to do, I didn't know where to turn, there was not the options out there that there are today. It's so cool that you get to choose your recovery in a way that works for you. But when I was there, it was just this way and that's it. And then even before I even knew what was going on with me, nothing against AA. All right. I did it for many years, but I went there and then you say, "Hey, Jen, I'm an alcoholic." But I'm like, am I? Like I don't know.
Mhm.
And so I used it for many years, but then I'm like, I don't know if I like that anymore because to me, it just seemed kind of negative, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. There's no right opinion. It's only a personal choice. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm sober. And then I started calling myself sober in like 2020 or 2019. And then I'm like, I don't even like that anymore. And then the past couple years, what sounds really good for me is alcohol free because
Mhm.
it's the free part. And I think that's what sobriety offers us is freedom. Oh God, freedom from staying stuck in the same cycle, from being tired and anxious and all of this. It offers freedom of time. All of this freedom from anxiety, like even though I still have anxiety, it's not to that extent. Like so much is available to us, so much opportunity. And it's such a in a positive light. And I think it's more accepting and easy for people to say that they're alcohol free
Mhm.
rather than put me in a label if I don't have a problem of alcoholic. I think it really helps deter people, or not even deter, but it encourage people to try it even if they don't have a problem. Even
Right.
if they drink on occasion, of asking better questions of the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm an alcoholic. The fear that I had of that label kept me from getting sober for many years because it scared me. Because my
Mhm.
vision was this, that meant I was weak. I mean, just saying what I thought. I
Mhm.
was weak. I couldn't handle it. Like, what would that do to my image? People were going to think I couldn't do this. But then, and I accepted it, I said it, and I was great with it. And then I wasn't. And then I started something else. I tried that on, and then now I'm trying this on. But then I also ask, why do we even need to label ourselves?
Mhm.
Like, do we even need a label to
Yep.
say I'm alcohol free? I've been sober for 12 and a half years. I never say I'm a non-smoker
Right.
or I'm a non-sugar person.
Right.
Or, it's just like, why do I have to say I'm alcohol free unless that feels good for you? I don't know. I start to just question things. And this is
Why
how
do we even
sobriety is.
have to label it?
Why do I have to
Yeah.
label it? If I don't eat gluten, I don't say, "Hey guys, I'm gluten free," or unless I'm like, I had surgery like over a month ago, and I'm like, I'm gluten free, I can't eat that. But that's only instance. So why do we have to say that
Right.
with alcohol? Because again, it's so ingrained, and we can have fear that people might take offense to it. But I always say, what do you want to call yourself? Do you want to call yourself anything? I'm so many things other than the label. I'm a mom, I am a sober coach, like chicken farmer, just like you. I am all these other things. And yeah, alcohol free is one of them. But you get to decide what that is. And that can change over time as well. But don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise, that you have to
Mhm.
be labeled this or do that or put into a category. That listen to yourself, listen to your gut, do what feels right. And if it doesn't work anymore, try on something else.
Right.
So that was kind of my experience with it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that, and what you're saying about labels hits home with me, even through cancer. I didn't want to be in that club. I didn't want to wear pink. I didn't want to, it was really a very different. So I totally understand and hear what you're saying. And it's funny because as I'm talking, the little like honest Lesa, I feel like I want to tell you, I probably once a month, like if I go to a vineyard or if there's something, a wedding, I might have a glass of wine. And I am going to tell you, it is so different now because I don't, and a lot of times I won't even finish the glass.
Hmm.
It's not like it used to be. It's like it doesn't have its hold on me. And I think that's so interesting. And maybe you can speak more to that, and maybe you don't even need to. But I just thought, isn't that interesting?
Hmm. Because you've grown in this process, right? I think
Mhm.
even when you take a period away, and if you do choose to go back out, your reasons for using it are different.
Yes.
So, I think and again, it's different for everybody. Whether you want to, it's for the taste, whether it's just
Yes.
an occasion that you want to have it, whether you want to go NA and do an NA wine or things like that. Um, your reasons and your why is different.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that. I love that so much. Can you share those 6 daily habits that you mentioned?
Yeah, absolutely. So in my programs, I love to do things together. And so because of my extensive history with inpatient, I've been to inpatient 3 times, I've been to outpatient 8 times, I've done 2 DWIs, I've gotten to detox, I've done a lot of things. And so I wanted to do this together because community doing things in numbers is so important. And so what we do is we do these habits together. I get them prepped and ready to go. We have a day one of what this is the things that you can experience. And then this is what you might feel like those first few days, those first few weeks. Here's how we're going to get through it. Now, the habits really help you to get through what's called, I like to call like the dip in sobriety, is where once you have a high dopamine hit, like alcohol, like drugs, is anytime you have a high, you're going to experience a crash. And if you've been doing it for a while, you're going to feel kind of crappy for a while, which again, for anybody who's doing 30 days, it's great, but it's not enough time because you're still in the early stages. But the withdrawal, which can last, up to 10 days, really around that 3 to 5 days, is that's where the habits come in. They can help bring structure, they can help fill the time. Because one thing that you can get when you stop drinking is a lot of time back
Mhm.
because it's really wasteful of that. And it also helps boost your confidence. What I like to do is I like to give women trackers. Hey, here's your habit. cross it off when you're done. And in turn, that's going to produce a little dopamine hit. And what helps boost confidence is showing up for the things that you say you're going to do. And all of these habits help to produce dopamine and help you feel your best during kind of that dip. And so, one of the first things that I love to do that I always recommend is to drink water. And if you brought your water, you can go ahead and take a sip. But I think it's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to not do. And one of the best things that it helps us do, number one, it's going to help with your energy. It's going to help with any brain fog that you might experience. If you're feeling sleepy, it's going to, again, just help you feel more awake. It's also going to help carry nutrients to your cells and also help flush the liver. We're going to flush those toxins from our body. And if you know, not just even with alcohol, but with other things, it helps just flush everything out and keeps you hydrated. And if you think that your body is over 60% and your brain is almost over 70% water, one thing to help it function best is to drink more water and keep it hydrated. And I'm not talking about sparkling water or anything that's added in like powders or liquids. You can add in lemon and things like that, but I'm talking plain, pure water. And what I recommend is half your body weight. Now, if that's too much, say for instance, you weigh 300 pounds and half of that is 150 pounds. That's a lot of water, right? So, and oh, I like to see you taking a
You
sip.
know
Go
what?
ahead
You
and
made
take
me
that
so
sip.
thirsty. I'm like,
I
I
know
gotta
I'm thirsty
take
too.
a
Guys, take a drink.
sip.
This is what I do in my calls. I'm like, guys, take a drink. So if that's too much, you want to increase as you go along, start with 64. And then ideally, women should be getting about 92 ounces at least in water every single day to feel nourished, to feel energized, and things like that. So have your body weight. Now, the second one is one that's helped me a lot in my sobriety is reading personal development. So read 10 pages of personal development or Quitlet in my program. So Quitlet is really just sober books. And this offered me a lot of clarity on my past. Clarity over why I did the things I did, why my parents did the things they did, other people's stories, other people's tips on how to do life better. It helped with motivation when I didn't know what to do. It helped bring clarity over why some women that I was working with didn't like me, that it had nothing to do with me. And it was such a eye opener when I started doing this. And it's changed my life because as Maya Angelou says, when you know better, you can do better. And I'm like, it is so true. When I know better, I can show up better. And I've learned so much from incorporating books. I like to say my new addiction is books, but that's a different story. The next one is gratitude. So writing 5 things that you're grateful for from the past 24 hours every single day. Because it's easy for us to say general things like, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my house. And that's great. However, I noticed the big difference, which is something that was so new to me when I started this in 2018. I didn't know what I could be grateful for. I'm just like, what? I don't know the light. So I had to Google what are some things you can be grateful for. I had no idea. I'm like, oh, so it was hard at first, but it got me to get specific. And really think when you get specific, and I learned this from Rachel Hollis. So she wrote Girl Wash Your Face. So she had this 5 things that you're grateful for from the past 24 hours. That's how I started doing it. And then I would look through and scan my day prior. I'm like, what were some things that made me smile? Like it could be, oh my gosh, Walmart had 1 bag left of Skinny Pop when I thought they were out. And that was something I was really looking forward to because if they didn't, I'd have been mad, right? I'd be like, dang it, they're out of this stuff again. But I'm like, oh my God, there was 1 left. Or it could be, I went to Starbucks and got a store-bought coffee. Or, playing basketball with my son yesterday. I'm super grateful for that. And so it got to me to see these little moments that of things going right instead of focusing on things going wrong because as a species we're programmed to think negatively 80% of the time. Now 95% of our thoughts are repetitive. If you know that, you actively have to seek out gratitude and look for it, and by developing a gratitude practice is going to over time help you to become happier and more fulfilled in life and be like, you know what, life is pretty good. And I think this is especially important in sobriety because we can think like, this sucks. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. But it's like, you know what? What went well? Gosh, I was so happy. Like you, I got up at 7:30, crushed a workout. God, I love my mornings. I love the peace and quiet. I love going to bed and having great sleep, right? Like all of these things that we can look for of why we love what we do, what we get to do in sobriety. So, 5 things that you're grateful for from the past 24 hours. Now, a big one for me, the next habit is movement. So, movement, exercise. I'm very big on this. I have been almost my whole life with getting movement into your day. Every day. Now, for this program, I decreased it from 30 minutes to 20 minutes because I want to make this doable. Movement is so important for your brain. Of course, we're going to have the added benefits of, maybe you want to lose weight or build muscle, but the best thing that movement can help you with is stress reduction. Why do most people drink? Like you said in the beginning, I was stressed. I was stressed at work. So it's going to reduce stress. It's also going to help you process emotions, which is something new. We might not have done it in a while. It's going to help boost your confidence. If you can complete a workout, whether it's hard, whether it's easy, you're like, I did that. I showed up for myself. It's also one of the biggest things if you've been drinking. And even as you age, it's going to increase blood flow to your brain. This is really important because low blood flow is a precursor to Alzheimer's and dementia. So, one way that we can repair our brain is to move our body. That's one of the fastest ways we can do that. It's going to increase that blood flow. And what's great about it is that you're not stuck with the brain you have. You can change it in this phenomenon called neuroplasticity. But also, movement is also going to boost dopamine in a natural way. You're going to feel the benefits much longer than a glass of wine if you move your body. Now, one that I incorporated for this challenge, because I've been saying it again and again and again, and it's something that I'm really, really passionate about, is eating protein.
Mhm.
And not only just throughout the day, I think it's fantastic to eat throughout the day, every 3 hours at least, eating good quality protein, but especially between work, if you have a job, and home. So around 2 to 3 p.m., making sure your blood sugar is stable by having a high protein snack, as in cottage cheese, Greek yogurt. You can do chopsticks, you can do turkey sausage, anything like that is going to help stabilize your blood sugar. Now, why is this important? Is because low blood sugar can manifest as sugar cravings and alcohol cravings. And we don't want to get too low because that's when our willpower also goes off. So we don't want to go into this transition of shutting off one thing, turning on another, wearing two different hats, hungry. Because there's this acronym, and you may have heard of it, called HALT. It's kind of like a check engine light for how you feel. So hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. If you feel dysregulated, go back and ask yourself, when was the last time I ate? Am I angry at something or someone? Am I feeling lonely or bored? And am I tired? Do I need to take a nap? I mean, really freaking tired. I know when I'm tired, I'm all dysregulated. I'm irritable, I'm angry. And so, when was the last time I ate? Make sure you're eating every at least kind of 2 to 3 hours, and make sure you're having that protein because that's going to stabilize blood sugar. As someone who's in perimenopause right now, I've learned so much about blood sugar. And as someone who has struggled with her sleep for 3 years, I'm like, I think it is all coming down to blood sugar. Like, it's crazy. And how we can help our blood sugar over time. But again, just having that 2 to 3 p.m. protein snack, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, chomps, sausages, anything like that is going to be some good quality protein. And then the last one, have a group that you can check into. Do you have, of course, mine is sobriety. So I have the women in my group check in every evening with us, or they also have Marco Polo groups, which is like a video chat app with small group of women. Is there a group of friends that you can check into? I know this can be different, but especially for sobriety, to have a sober community that you can connect with, whether it's you're checking in, you're checking out the site, you're going to a meeting, you're connecting with a therapist, just something where you can check in on how you're doing. So those are the 6. So I believe I've got around water, gratitude, reading, exercise, protein, and community, whether that's a community, a sober community, whether that's a mom's community, a breast cancer survivor community. Um, Whatever you are into, having that community is key.
So agree. And I mean, bravo. Those are, and it's interesting because I'm writing a book right now, and a lot of what you're talking about, it's about living better. It's not all about cancer. It's a little bit about that. It's lots of stories. Um, but a big section of it is on how to live better and feel better. And you just nailed, everything that I will be talking about in that book. So when it's done, I'll get you a copy so you can read it as one of your habits.
I would love it.
So this is so helpful. And so there was one question before we go. I know we're getting a little late on time, and I want to make sure that we let women know how they can get in touch with you. But can you share? You were telling me, and I kind of interrupted your story. You were telling me that you did some inpatient, you did AA. What actually stuck with you, and what was it that made it stick?
Such a great question. And I get so many people that ask me, like, what was it? And I don't think it was one thing. I think it was many things. I think it was me trying and failing and losing things because I always thought, okay, well, I still have my job. And then I lost my job. Okay, well, I still have this. And then I lost my car because of my DWI. Okay, and then I was losing things and my family and husband, now husband. So I broke down a day and a half after, or a couple days after my wedding, and I started drinking around the clock and didn't hide it. And that began my year and a half journey of figuring out what was going on, to seeking help. That didn't work, going again, going again, going again. And I'm not saying treatment didn't work. I'm just saying I really wanted to get sober. I just wasn't ready. And as someone who's a perfectionist, I'm very tenacious. And if you say I can't do something, I'm
Mhm.
going to find every single way that I could. And I was trying to make it work. And don't think I wanted to drink in the later stages. I just didn't know how to stop. And I wasn't honest to my husband as well. And what helped me was, again, I think it just takes a point of time where I came to and made the click happened
Mm.
for me when I was in detox for the second time. I was homeless. I was staying at my parents and they caught me drinking, so they took me to detox. They didn't want me back. My husband didn't want me there. I had $200 to my name and I didn't know where to go. And I had court the next day. I had lost my job. I had lost my car. I had lost everything. And it was like I had an out of body experience and I blew like a 0.34 when I went in. And that scared me because I had been drinking like that for so long. That was just another day. And by that point, I had switched to other forms of alcohol. So my drink of choice in the last year was mouthwash because I had so much shame over what I was doing. I hated rotating my liquor stores, but I didn't feel that bad going into Target and buying mouthwash, which has the same amount of alcohol as vodka, and I could get drunk off it. And so at that point, I'm like, how many times did I get away with it? And it was like an out of body experience where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I look down and I'm just like, I am so done. And I'm like, I've lost this. I'm lost this. Where I wasn't even trying to stay sober. I didn't want to drink anymore. I was done 100%. And I didn't know what was going to happen. I had so much stuff to clean up. I didn't know if I was going to stay married. I didn't know how to repair my relationships. I didn't even know how I was going to get back my license. But I said, as long as I don't drink, I can't make this any worse. And so I gave up what was going to happen. And I just kept doing the next right thing. Like I knew I was going to have to go to inpatient again for court, even though I had already made up my mind. So that was my third time I went to a different place. I let the people in my life have their space and I kept showing up for myself. And I can say it was so much easier. Once you stop trying to fight it, even though I had so many things to do, I had an intoxilizer in my car, I had to do house arrest, I had to do a day in jail, like all this stuff. It was so much easier because I didn't have to lie. I didn't have to, cover my tracks or like sneak it or even want that. It was all left from me. So I think it's just a matter of time for people when you're sick and tired. There's this quote, sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Mhm.
I'm done. And I stopped fighting and I started living, because by that point in my drinking, I did not have that much time left. I was experiencing symptoms of cardiac arrest. I was mixing Adderall with alcohol, and I felt my body shutting down. But at that point, at that point, I didn't care. But it took what it needed to take for me to wake up. And I needed to lose things in the way that I had for me to really get this. And I'm so happy I did, because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have had my two kids. And it's amazing what can happen when you get sober. I wanted kids for so long. They're my greatest why. Is that a few months into my sobriety, we learned I was pregnant. I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to be infertile because I was feeding myself poison for so many years. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then 4 months, I got a job back in my field. Because before I was driving, or I was riding my bike to a printing shop because I didn't have a car. Within 6 months, I was promoted. Within less than a year, we had my son, which is the greatest gift. Like, I just look at them, and if you need a why of what has
Yeah,
come from my sobriety, it's my two children. And we bought a house, and it's like, and the other thing I did, and I know I'm taking some time, but
you're
the other thing I
fine.
did before I went into my last inpatient was I knew I needed to get honest with my husband, because I had been kind of teetotaling into Adderall as well. I wasn't addicted, but I liked it because it helped cure my hangover and helped me get things done when I was drinking. And so I knew I couldn't get sober and stay sober unless he knew this. So I had a conversation with him, and in my mind, he was going to tear up the entire house, even though he's the most level headed person in the world. He was going to ask for a divorce. And I'm just like, I just needed to tell you something. And so I told him. He's like, okay, are you done? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, then we're good. I'm like, oh my God, I was ruminating over this in my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then at that point, I'm like, okay, good. I have no more secrets.
Mhm.
That's it. I'm like, now I can do this. And slowly but surely, it took him a while to rebuild that trust. As I just learned, it was like 2 years to kind of fully trust me again. And I can't say life is perfect, but my gosh, it's so worth it. And I wouldn't be 12 and a half years sober if it wasn't. If this sucked, if it wasn't worth it, I would
Right.
definitely go back. But I know what my drinking was, and it wasn't fun. Even
Mhm.
though in the beginning it was, and then it became a fun with problems, and then it became a problem. And that's kind of what I just saw Dennis Quaid say in a reel. I'm like, that's so true. And then I
Mhm.
couldn't stop. But I used it for anxiety. It started with heartbreak. It turned into anxiety, since alcohol increases anxiety. It increases cortisol. Lord knows if I would have known that before, I was using it to calm my anxiety. In turn, it was making my anxiety so much worse. What the heck?
I know.
And then it turned into where I couldn't stop. So again, a long answer. It was many things, and all of them were working, even if I thought they didn't, and even if my family didn't think it was working, it was. And I just
Mhm.
had to get to a point. I had to get to the point where I didn't, or I really wanted sobriety, and I was ready. I was ready to do this. And
Well,
that was
I
it.
I want to commend you because it takes a courageous woman to go through what you went through and then to turn your life around and help other people going through
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And no, you're my kind of people. That's I love that. You've got your calling and you're helping people. And so if we have some listeners that want to, can they jump in anytime? Do you start as a group? How does it work, Jen?
Yeah. I like to start as a group because there's momentum there. I don't want you
Mhm.
to watch a bunch of videos. I want you to get in and get connected. And so I don't have them all the time. I'm considering one in mid November, depending on when this podcast comes out, of doing a 31-day group. And then, of course, I'm going to have one in January as well. However, in the meantime, you can always join Lighthouse Sobriety, which is my monthly membership, anytime 24/7, and get instant access to over 150 women. We have meetings every day. It's fun. We have book club, we work out, we do all these things. It's just a different way to get sober and stay sober. And so one of the best things that you can have is that sober community. And I
Mhm.
would start there, and then be on the lookout for my next program.
I love that. And we'll have all your information in the show notes so people can find you. And we have gone way over time. So I want to thank you for being here. And I can't help it. I have one. Do you have time? Because I have one more question.
Ooh, yeah, let's hear it.
So as you were talking, I thought of dear friends who have a son who's got children, almost 40, and is kind of has lost everything, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I've watched this going on for years. And is there, I mean, I think they kind of keep coming in and bringing him home. Is there any advice that you could give to parents of these adult kiddos or spouses or, partners or whatever that can help them? Because I mean, I know in all the things I've been through, we can't control other people and how they feel, and we can't save them.
Mhm.
But it's pretty dang hard. How did your parents do that? How did you know you couldn't go back there?
They just said I couldn't go back, right? And I think honestly, boundaries. I think if there's anything that I can offer advice is Melody Beattie has a book called no, letting codependent no more. Sorry. She
That's
also
right.
has a language of letting go. Um, but she has this phrase where you can detach with love is where like I needed to lose things and I only lost things because my husband and my parents set boundaries. You can't stay here if you're drinking. And as hard as it is, it's so needed. And there's ways we can be compassionate, knowing that this isn't them. This is, you could say they're drinking or addiction, but you can detach, but in a loving way. And all I wanted someone to say when I was struggling was, everything's going to be okay. And not to berate them, but to treat them with kindness, just like you would treat someone with breast cancer.
Hmm.
But the main thing I want parents or spouses to know is to take care of yourself.
Hmm.
I think it's when this happens, we lose sight of eating, of doing the things that we enjoy, of getting support. So, seeking those things of moving your body, all of those things that I mentioned,
Right.
making sure you're eating, you're getting your core needs met, and also seeking support, whether that's online support for families and partners with spouses who are drinking, or I know there's Al Anon too, if you want to go the AA way for how to find that support. And that can be super, super helpful. So detach with love, get really read on boundaries, set those boundaries, follow through on them, and know that you're helping them even if it hurts, even
Yeah.
if you feel grief or not grief, but shame about it. Take care of yourself, drink water, move your body,
Yeah.
all of those things. Make sure you're eating and sleeping as best as you can. Take care of your children and get some support with other people who are going through it.
Great advice. And thank you for staying to answer that one last question that I have.
It's
But
important though. I've
yeah,
gotten a lot of questions and I should do some advice on it. Or maybe even a group because a lot of spouses and partners are reaching out. What can I do? How can I help? And
or parents, I mean, I'm
yeah,
seeing that. Yeah.
boundaries
Yes.
and
Boundaries
support
are so important.
and compassion for that person because
Mhm.
they don't want to do this. They're doing it because they don't know better.
Exactly. I had someone talking to me about that, about addiction in a past episode, and that was the same way. He described it as, it's just like when someone's sick that you love, you're
Mhm.
concerned. And it's the same thing with alcohol or drugs. So
Yeah. Mhm.
it's not an easy subject, but thank you so much
Yeah.
for taking it on, for helping people. And listeners, go find Jen Hirst at Lighthouse Sobriety, and we'll have, like I said, everything in the show notes. So, Jen, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out on Instagram. I'd love to get those and help
You've
you.
got a great Instagram page. That's where I found you. It's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Yes. All right, honey. You take good care.
All right, you too.